Good evening and welcome to a very snowy night in Kokomo, Indiana for high school basketball. The number 10 ranked Carmel Greyhounds in Memorial Gymnasium to take on the number 11 Kokomo Wildkats. Tonight's game brought to you by Coca-Cola of Kokomo, proudly serving Kokomo and the surrounding areas since 1907. Coca-Cola of Kokomo keeps the Cats hydrated both on the court and in the classroom. Find out more at cckokomo.com and by the Indy Card Exchange, Indiana's home for vintage and modern sports cards. J.D. Arland, Dan Fife on the call this evening. And Dan, a lot of great storylines with two highly ranked teams, a lot of anticipation around this game as we welcome you here into our studio. But all eyes are going to be on that number 40 jersey for Kokomo, that is Flory Bidunga.
Well, when you think about Coach Osborne's ability to get his team prepared for Flory Bidunga, that could be a story in and of itself of how much they had to prepare for him, let alone the damage that he could possibly do in this game. But I think when you look at the matchup, ultimately, it is going to be about the two superstars of the game in Sam Orm and obviously Flory Bidunga. And I think the guy that can put up the best numbers outside of their averages is the team that's going to win the game.
As you see, both of those guys on your screen now are Coca-Cola players to watch. Like you said, Flory Bidunga, Sam Orme for the Greyhounds. And imagine a center shooting 81% from the field. This guy knows what he's doing on the offensive glass as well. He is averaging a double-double, and in fact, he's got 15 straight of them. If you look back to last night, his second career triple-double. This is a guy that knows how to get it done and is for sure going to make an impact at the next level. Dane, as we prepare for this game, your three keys on either side, what are these teams going to have to do to get ready to go this afternoon?
Well, it is going to be a battle of the boards. And I think for Kokomo, can Flory have an impact on this game on the glass the way he normally does? And can Carmel keep him off the glass? Conversely, they have to value, both teams have to value each possession. And I think each team defensively presents its own problems. Where Kokomo is going to try to speed you up and press you, Carmel's going to try to slow you down and muddy up the paint and make it hard for the Kokomo Wildcats to get the ball inside to Bidunga. And then, as I said earlier, the stars have to align, and that's Sam Orm and Flory Bidunga. And whichever player, as I said, scores outside of their averages, goes above and beyond, is the team that I think is going to win the game tonight.
Yeah, Dave, we've got two D1 commits, or two D1 caliber players. Sam Orm committed to Belmont, both standing at 6'9". Bidunga has 14 scholarship offers. We'll see where he plays. If it is in Indiana, fantastic. If it's not, he's for sure going to be at one of those powerhouse programs around the country. And like you said, that rebounding is going to be really important tonight. This is going to be a game that plays down low, a historic gymnasium and an old style of basketball. I think that's what we're going to see from both of these squads tonight. We're going to take a short break for the national anthem, and when we come back, we'll have tonight's officials, starting lineups, and of course the first quarter of play live from Kokomo, Indiana. You're watching the ISC Sports Network. We'll be right back.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
This is your IHSAA. This is your state. This is your high school. This is your athletic association.
Fans, I'm IHSAA Commissioner Paul Knighty, and we're here to make sure that all of this remains yours.
This is your state. This is your community. This is your IHSAA.
Ball here. Harris scores. With 19 seconds remaining.
Fake players, big boy. I'm telling you right now, that's awesome. I love it. Oh!
taken. And an and one.
Hi there, I'm Jake Query.
And I'm Derek Schultz.
And we do Query and Schultz on ISC Sports Network. And Derek, unlike Ted Lasso, we have a third season.
That's right. Season number 3 right now, ISCSportsNetwork.com.
Are they doing a third
You can
season
see
on that show?
episodes on Comcast 81 as well, Mondays at 7:30. I'm talking about our show, Jake, this beloved show that people tune into every single week. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, so many ways to watch Query and Schultz every Monday, 7:30. Tune in and hang out with us.
And you don't have to be a goldfish. You'll remember everything we say.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
We are back in historic Memorial Gymnasium ahead of this top 15 battle. The number 10 Carmel Greyhounds traveling to Kokomo to take on the number 11 Wildkats as we get ready to meet the starting lineups. And so we'll start with Carmel. Starting lineups brought to you by virtual announcer Aaron Pittman, and virtual announcer that is. Make your game day experience the absolute best by hiring Aaron. If he can't be there, he'll be your virtual announcer. That's for any sport, not just hoops. Find out more and just how affordable it can be at Virtual Announce on social or by calling 317-800-0612. And now we meet the Greyhound starters. Of course, these projected before the game. We may see some differences, but all eyes on that 14 jersey, Sam Orm. And that is, I've learned how you pronounce it. The E is silent. Sam Orm is for sure a difference maker in that Ryan Osborne offense.
Well, I think he is a big difference maker. And I also think his leadership will be important tonight. You've got young guys playing for the first time, particularly Alex Couto, who's sophomore point guard, who's been looked to score for him quite a bit. And I think they're going to look to Orm for more than just three-point shots. And talking to John Peckinpah, that's a big part of it, is the three-point shot, especially coming from Orm.
And not something that you typically see from a guy who stands at 6'9", but of course Indiana high school basketball is a whole different beast of its own. When you see that on the roster, you'd think, I got to watch out for this guy down low. But the Carmel shooting game has really characterized their season so far, and that is why they've been able to win 5 of their last 7. Of course, both teams on a hot streak. Kokomo has not dropped a home game yet this season. They are 3-0, 1-1 on the road and 0-1 in neutral sites. Meanwhile, the Greyhounds stand at 3-2 on the season when they are not in the Eric Clark Activity Center. How much of that do you think plays into it? Of course, Memorial Gymnasium, an absolute electric factory last night in the win over Marion. Do you think the environment is going to play any factor tonight?
You know, it really could. And I guess when you look at Carmel, they've played in big-time games. They've played in or been part of big-time games, most of these Carmel players. But I don't think nothing could prepare them for early in this season with the caliber of player that they have to play against in Flory Bidunga on the other side. The environment, watching the Marion game versus Kokomo last night was electric, and I can imagine this is going to be tenfold tonight.
And now we meet the Wildkats with a K from Kokomo. And so we will get their starting lineups in just a moment. You see Zion Bellamy, Reese Beard, Xavion Bellamy, the two-headed dragon of the Bellamy brothers. 15 is Patrick Hardiman, and then all eyes on number 40, Flory Bidunga. So the Wildcats set to go. It's been a road trip for the Greyhounds, who have played their last 4 on the road, and meanwhile Kokomo has found their groove at home, topping McCutcheon, Lebanon, and like we mentioned most recently, Marion. That will not stop for the Wildcats, who have 2 more home games after this, on the 20th against 4A opponent Zionsville, and then in the Phil Cox Memorial Tournament. You can catch that right here on ISC. Their first opponent will be Fort Wayne Lures. as we see the starting lineups roll out for Kokomo. Dean, what's one thing that you're saying to your team ahead of this one if you're John Peckinpah?
Well, as I talked to John Peckinpah earlier in the day, he told me a key matchup is obviously going to be the matchup with Sam Orman. That's going to go to number 15, Patrick Hardiman. And Patrick Hardiman's a tough kid, a physical player. And he's probably, what we would say when I coached at Michigan State, we'd call him a junkyard dog. And I think he's going to have a really important assignment tonight, and he has to stay focused. He's got to limit his fouls. He's got to find a way to stay in the game.
So both teams taking the floor. We will meet tonight's officials in just a moment. 8 fresh minutes on the clock. Both teams trying to set the tone early. Brent Hunt, Brigham Robbins, and Damian Williams will be our officials tonight. And of course, they've got the big man, Bidunga, matching up against Jared Bonds.
JD, right out of the gate, I'd expect Kokomo to win this and go right inside for a middle post up for Bidunga.
And win it they do. So we get started on offense.
Watch for Bidunga inside, right in the middle, okay?
Hardiman running it. Unsuccessful as Spencer White's on the rebound. So the Greyhounds will slow down. This slow-paced offense is something that the Greyhounds are known for year after year. And it looks like Orm might have stepped out, and so this will go back the other way. Both teams, some miscues early, getting the nerves out.
Hey, you saw the Kokomo try to come out and get the ball, get the post established with Bidunga, and Carmel shut it down on the flip side. Coach Osborne had a 3 drawn up for Carmel, and they turned it over.
Back on the other side, Hardiman gives it off to Bellamy. And now Kokomo looking on that outside as well. They'll let the 3 fly, and Reese Beard cashes in. So the first points of the game go to Kokomo, and maybe a way that people weren't expecting. Comes from behind the arc.
Coach Peckinpah calls Beard his spark plug. And if you remember a famous 1980s player named Vinnie Johnson who played for the Pistons, he was known as the microwave. I'd equate Beard, the spark plug, to Vinnie Johnson, the microwave.
Here's that left side with Jared Bonds. Carmel unable to break in down low. They'll let the 3 fly. This one doesn't go, and so Kokomo and Bidunga will take it right back. Very slow offenses as there's a steal. Man, it seems like Jake Griffin just read that like a book.
Well, these two teams are trying to figure each other out. Thought he got away with the goaltending there, JD. What'd you think? But no,
the Carmel player's certainly calling for it.
Yeah, these two teams are trying to figure each other out and get a feel. A couple shots have been taken by guys that they're willing to give. Each team is willing to give that particular person a 3.
And there it goes down the other end. So both these teams matching up well from behind the arc. And so they'll settle into their offense like that instead of trying to force it down low. Another quick shot, and that one falls for Zion Bellamy.
Zion Bellamy does a great job for Kokomo running their team, facilitating their offense, and taking high-quality shots.
Bidunga, unselfish, gives it off to Zion Bellamy. And whistle blows, and this will go back the other way. They'll say he stepped out.
I bet Xavion would like to have that one back, JD. I didn't think that was a good decision to throw it cross-court and really put his brother in a tough spot, and you can see the turnover.
Oh, it looks like a fan will be ejected from Memorial Gym. So motion's running high early.
Would he not like the call?
Can't step out of bounds. You can't do that. And Carmel will take over. That's Jared Bonds dribbling up the timeline.
It's a high-end ticket he just gave up. He had a good seat, too.
Get kicked out of Memorial Speed Run. Complete right there. Spencer White down on the other side of Quoto. Left side, and Bong lets it fly, doesn't touch rim, and that'll be a turnover every day of the week. Zion Bellamy tries the run and gun, and it'll go back to the Greyhounds.
You know, an important part to this game for Coach Ryan Osborne and Carmel is to slow Kokomo down. They want to limit those looks in transition. I thought Carmel did a nice job of not allowing an easy play at the rim and or allowing Bidunga to get a follow-up for a dunk.
Here comes the double team. A small press as Kokomo gets more aggressive, blocked away by Bidunga. Man, that's the defensive force that Carmel's going to be up against all night. He had 11 of those last time out.
As you see the strategies unfold, you can see, as we talked about earlier in the discussion in pregame, there's so much of, you can see the little nuances in the semantics going on. Like Carmel is willing to give Kokomo open shots around the perimeter. On the flip side, Kokomo is trying to funnel Carmel into the paint to Bidunga, taking away their three-point looks for their shooters.
And they shut Bidunga down on that one with a triple team. So Kokomo tries to go wide to no avail. Sam Orm will dribble up to Alex Quota. As they restart, you see the 10 jersey Huber inside for the Greyhounds, trying to match up with that size. And a foul called right away on Patrick Hardiman. They got him for the reach.
The apprehension, JD, of the Greyhound guards, penetrating it inside the three-point arc and seeing Bidunga within 20 feet of the rim. They're turning around and bouncing it back out.
Got to be a terrifying sight as you try to charge the paint.
I think the last one Bidunga blocked was with his armpit.
Wide open three on the left side for Owen Huber, and it falls. So the first two field goals for Carmel have both come from beyond the arc, and that's something they're going to have to stay hot from. Like you mentioned, hard to match up with that guy in the paint.
Well, the junior coming in and knocking down that three's big for Carmel. That's something that he's got a fearless look on his face, does Huber, and I think if Carmel's patient, they can get the shots they want, particularly for the guys that are hot. Coach Peckinpah's, he might be the second person to get thrown out tonight.
As there's a quick score from Jake Griffin, and the Greyhounds take the lead. 8-5, Carmel in front with 3 minutes to go here in this first quarter. Zion Bellamy lets it fly from deep. Bidunga blocks it away, and this is going back the other direction. As we take a second to thank our friends from Coca-Cola of Kokomo, proudly serving Kokomo and the surrounding area since 1907. Coca-Cola of Kokomo keeps the Cats hydrated both on the court and in the classroom. Find out more at cckokomo.com. Over the timeline, and here come the Greyhounds, and it looks like they're going to do that spread offense all around the top of the key, not giving up any space down low until they find their man. Blocked away by Bidunga, but not before the foul from Zion Bellamy.
Right now, this game is being completely controlled by Carmel. You see right here in the replay, they're trying to pull Bidunga out. After Huber hit that three, they're trying to pull Bidunga out and give them some better looks at the rim. But Carmel is controlling the tempo of this game. What Kokomo wants to do is speed you up. They either speed you up by pressing, they speed you up by forcing you into a tough shot, or they speed you up with the Bidunga block. But one way or another, Kokomo has to get control of this game. And in order to do that, they've got to speed this game up.
Jake Griffin makes them both. It's 10-5 with 2.5 to go here in this first quarter. Bellamy kicks it out to Beard. Back on the outside, Xavion Bellamy tries the look, no good. Last touch by Carmel, and so the Cats keep possession. They'll reset their offense with an inbound.
Sometimes that might be the best play for Kokomo, is just get the shot on the rim with Bidunga underneath. He can out-jump and outsize Carmel just to get the offensive rebound and putback.
And this one going back to the Cats as well. We'd like to thank our friends at Hoosier Shooting Academy, combining cutting-edge technology with old-school work ethic to make your game better at the Hoosier Shooting Academy, located on Indy's southeast side, just off of 465 and Brookville Road, and always open online at HoosierShooting.net. Neither team really needs that service because they've been great from beyond the arc. Down on that inside glass and good. Patrick Hardiman puts up the hook shot for his first 2 points, and Kokomo puts it within 3.
And if you take a look at number 40, Jared Bonds, he is wearing himself out fighting Bidunga down underneath the post. But with that in mind, he's doing a heck of a job keeping him from getting where he wants the ball.
Rebound comes from Bidunga, stuff in the stat sheet.
Excuse me, number 10, Owen Huber is the one that's doing a good job. He's exhausted. He's calling for a sub. But he did a heck of a job in that stanza.
And how about the big-time deep three there from Bellamy? It'll lead to a timeout. And so we will take a second to thank our friends at ADP and Anthony Bennett, a new partnership. But, hey, take another look at that. I mean, all the way downtown. Did you know that ADP pays 1 in 6 Americans? And you note that if you mention ISC, you can get the full range of ADP services free for 3 months. That's right, ISC and ADP have partnered to help your small business, and it's free for 3. Just like that shot. Call Anthony Bennett at 317-427-8249 or email Anthony Bennett at adp.com and mention ISC as we see Coach Osborne resetting the Carmel offense to try to guard against that deep attack that we've seen Kokomo. I'm sure not a whole lot of people were expecting Kokomo to be so aggressive with their shooting this early.
I think that was a good call, calling timeout, Coach Osborne. I didn't exactly see it, but I thought it was a good thought in mind because Bellamy makes that deep three. Now all of a sudden the crowd starts to get into it. Carmel has control of this game so far. I think as long as the tempo is where it is, Coach Osborne maintains that, I think you're going to see decisions like that last time out to keep the game under control.
So about a minute and a half left here in this first quarter of play. We see Logan Reinhardt check in for the Greyhounds for the first time tonight. Well, Osborne switching up the lineups just a little bit. A lot of tall, lengthy guys out there. Expect more baseline action from the Greyhounds. Orm trips, and it's going back to the Wildcats.
One objective for Kokomo is to keep Orm's feet moving. You see him get screened, the Kokomo defender. You see Hardiman get screened, but his objective is to keep Orm's feet moving so he never can get comfortable shooting a shot.
Patrick Hardiman gets the lucky bounce in for 3, and that takes us to the final minute of the quarter. Kokomo averages 13 points in the first quarter, and that's what they've hit. Meanwhile, the Greyhounds average 14. They're 4 points behind. A little slower start than usual for the Greyhounds.
And that's one thing that Kokomo needs Hardiman to be able to do is consistently hit that 3. That's a big shot, could prove to be a pivotal shot for his confidence.
Carmel slowing things down. This is what they've done for years in the last 45 seconds of a quarter. It's just slow it down and hold it for the last shot. Wouldn't be surprised at all if that's what they do.
I think I'm hearing groans of Indiana basketball needs a shot clock.
A conversation topic I won't even begin to get into. As the quick 2-point jumper falls, Alex Quoto cashes in. And Kokomo will have the last second, 1 second on the clock. It doesn't fall, and so that will be the first quarter of play. The Wildcats lead at home 13-12 after 1. We will step away for a moment. You're watching the ISC Sports Network. Wildcats in front by 1.
This is your IHSAA.
Still on his feet. Stevens lunges. Are you kidding me?
Champions of Marion County.
Unbelievable. Touchdown.
Living up to that last name. Wabash has the lead for the first time today. So that was going to be a highlight reel. Oh, baby.
Yeah, you can celebrate after that.
It's the second quarter of play. We'd like to thank our friends at Coca-Cola of Kokomo, proudly serving Kokomo and the surrounding area since 1907. Coca-Cola of Kokomo keeps the Cats hydrated both on the court and in the classroom. Find out more at cckokomo.com. And so we start the third quarter of play here at Memorial Gymnasium on ISC. 13-12, the Wildcats lead by 1. And some fresh blood in the game as Osborne's team lets it fly to no avail, tries to get it to Orm. It doesn't succeed. This one's going back to Kokomo after the offensive foul is called on Jake Griffin. First on him, first on the Carmel team. Here's another look at it.
And the one thing you can see Coach Osborne trying to do is keep Orm involved, whether it's by decoy or actually trying to get a shot or setting multiple screens for him.
Another 3 falls for Zion Bellamy. His second, his third made field goal of the night. And Bellamy, both of the Bellamys, making a big impact for Peckinpah squad. Here's Owen Huber. Back on the outside to Griffin.
And both Orm and Bidunga are doing a really good job of not forcing anything and being patient.
Whistle blows as Carmel will throw in. The last-ditch effort there to no avail from Shane Spear. So they'll really reset all the way back past the timeline.
I think, JD, when you hear the crowd quiet and the ball moving slow, people moving slowly, Coach Ryan Osborne's getting his way and controlling. He's happy. He's controlling the tempo.
And even in shots like that are blocked away, Carmel's still able to get that second chance ball, and no good. Goes to Bidunga. Back on the other side. Bellamy tried. No good. So we go back the other way. This is a really defensive game, Dane.
It is, and when you watch Bidunga run the floor, look at number 10, Huber, who's a big, stocky kid. He's waiting for him. Coach Peckinpah is demonstrating right there. That's got to be called. That's something that the referees have to see. That's impeding somebody's progress, and that's got to be called. So next transition, pay attention to when Bidunga's running the floor and Huber's blocking him from getting down into the post.
Patrick Hardiman lets it fly. It goes back to the Greyhounds. Jake Griffin resetting. Yeah, not so much like the days of old as Orm lets it go. And 16-12 will remain the score.
Here it is. Bidunga's got to do a better job of really working to establish position down low. It's almost like if you look at him, he's lumbering. I think he's pretty tired. They had a great game, extensive game last night against Marion, and now coming back against Carmel, another perennial power. I think he looks tired right now.
Bidunga off glass and good. His first 2 points of the outing, and that'll be a Coach Osborne timeout as he exchanges some words with the officials. So take another look at this. Bidunga doesn't do anything too fancy, doesn't hang off the rim or anything like that, but gets the job done and puts 2 points up.
Well, I think that's important for the Kokomo perimeter players to be able to recognize that. They might have to thread the needle sometimes, just like he did there.
As we take this timeout, Community First Bank is a proud sponsor of ISC. Their genuinely helpful local bankers serve the Kokomo and greater Indianapolis communities. Voted Kokomo's best bank 15 years in a row. Learn more at cfbindiana.com. Member FDIC. And Dane, the bank certainly open for Bidunga on that last play.
Well, I talked about him being tired prior to that bucket. I expected him to rip the rim down.
As we'll see in a moment, some of the best plays that you've seen so far. There's Zion Bellamy showing off his range twice. Well, just nothing but net on that. Real confident shooter and knows how to get the job done.
And last night it was Xavier. Tonight it's Zion. And I think if if Kokomo is going to beat Carmel, those guys have to continue to make open shots. They don't have to make anything crazy. Just make your open shots and make good decisions. That's something that, talking to John Peckinpah this morning about, something that he's pretty confident in, the Bellamys, and getting that stuff done.
Yeah, Zion Bellamy has only made, coming into this game, 5 from deep. He's already made 2 tonight. He was previously 5 for 24, so I don't think Osborne could have possibly, Coach Osborne for Carmel could have possibly prepared for his threat from beyond the arc. Jared Bonds back in the game as this one's stolen away by Bellamy and heads back to the Wildcats. And they will get Jake Griffin with another offensive foul, his second, team second. Here's another look. And that reach right there is going to get called every time, especially with the official as close as he was.
Well, he got caught with the proverbial hand in the cookie jar. And Griffin is somebody that they rely on for his defense and steady play. They can't afford to lose him.
And another foul on the Greyhounds. It seems like they got somebody down low, and you can see that physical play. I think that's going to be called on Jared Bonds, the 40 jersey for the Greyhounds.
Well, I think they took a crash course yesterday from the Carmel Greyhound football team and how to block, because it looks like that's what they're doing to Bidunga.
A 4-inch height mismatch between the two of them in Bond and Bidunga. And there's a foul offensively for Flory Bidunga. His first, team third of the half. Kokomo still up 18-12.
Kokomo has to continue to be patient to get those open shots and or get it down to Bidunga. But Bidunga, they have to do a good job making sure he touches the ball. Doesn't have to be every possession, but they have to keep Bidunga involved. Conversely, Carmel with Orm.
Alex Quoto, threes please, not this time. They'll pitch it down the other end as Patrick Hardiman almost loses control of it, but instead resets the offense. And another pick on that cross-court pass as Carmel goes up under the rim for 2 easy points.
I don't think Coach Peckinpah is going to like that. One, the pass by Xavion Bellamy, and then he loafs back and gives up an open layup to Carmel. If you're going to win these kinds of games, you got to stay disciplined. You got to move on with the next play mentality, and that's not something that Bellamy did right there.
Here goes Hardiman inside. The Greyhounds pick it off right away. And so Carmel finally understanding as Bidunga blocks it away. Carmel gets a second chance. Jared Bonds there to recover it.
I thought Spencer White did a heck of a job getting in the paint. He got himself an easy right-hand layup to his strong hand out of nowhere. Bidunga comes and swats it.
Jared Bonds thought about the three, thought better of it, instead goes to Spencer White. Here's Orm. The Belmont commit picks up 2 for his first bucket of the game, and Carmel trails by 4 with 2:45 left in this half. And here comes the 35 jersey, Shane Spear. Can't get it done. Sam Orm, by my estimate, that's his 6th or 7th defensive rebound just tonight.
And I think they're sending 2 guys and almost 2.5 guys to Bidunga when Kokomo takes a shot just to keep him off the glass. And again, I continue to say, if I'm Coach Peckinpah right now, I've got to find a way to get Bidunga a break. Or we've got to get him energized. But if you checking him out in the paint, he looks exhausted right now.
The long 2 doesn't fall for Spencer White. Instead, Kokomo will slow it down with just 2 minutes on the clock. They'll try and play with Bellamy. Another cross-court pass to Hardiman. The classic Hoosiers offense here, passing it 5 times before a shot's made, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. As Bellamy puts it up.
Sam Orm just sitting in the paint, not guarding anybody, and I know that's his responsibility. So it makes it hard for anything to go over the top for Kokomo if they're going to front. The first goal is to keep them from getting deep position. The second goal is to keep them from getting anything over the top. With the third, no offensive rebounds.
As a team, the Wildcats only shooting about 25% from deep. Probably higher tonight, but an unreliable strategy for the long term if they've got Bidunga wrapped up like Carmel has right now.
Carmel's offense would remind me of a Greg Gard University of Wisconsin offense, where they're not exactly moving quick. They're just waiting for you to make a mistake.
And that one doesn't go. And so back the other way. Kokomo with what may be the last play of this half. Inside Bidunga,
Kokomo.
guarded tough by Bonds.
Kokomo's got to cut. When Bidunga gets the ball, they have to cut. They've got to get those defenders moving on the ball side and the back side. It's too easy to be they're just sitting on top of him, even when he catches the ball.
Bellamy is blocked by Orm. It'll stay with the Wildcats. Last touch by Carmel. And here's another look at it. Might have caught him a little bit on the way down. Here comes the Spears three. Bidunga gets it back, puts it up for his first dunk of the game. Bidunga, that's what he does best. And a putback, exclamation point. Final seconds and it's a block. Bidunga is really heating up. How about that offense to defense sequence? Number 40 is getting the job done on both ends of the floor, and that takes us to halftime. 20-18, the score at the half. The Kokomo Wildcats, 2016, they're 2018, yeah, that's right. The Kokomo Wildcats up by 2 as we go into the break, and we will take a break here on ISC as well. When we come back, some thoughts with Dane Fife about the first half of action and some first half highlights. Don't go anywhere. You're watching ISC Sports Network, and we'll be right back.
Hi there, I'm Jake Query.
And I'm Derek Schultz.
And we do Query and Schultz on ISC Sports Network. And Derek, unlike Ted Lasso, we have a third season.
That's right. Season number 3 right now, ISCSportsNetwork.com. You can see episodes on Comcast 81 as well, Mondays at 7:30. I'm talking about our show, Jake, this beloved show that people tune into every single week. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, so many ways to watch Query and Schultz every Monday, 7:30. Tune in and hang out with us.
And you don't have to be a goldfish. You'll remember everything we say.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
This is your IHSAA. This is your state. This is your high school. This is your athletic association.
Fans, I'm IHSAA Commissioner Paul Knighty, and we're here to make sure that all of this remains yours.
This is your state. This is your community. This is your IHSAA.
Ball here. Harris scores. With 19 seconds remaining.
Big players, big boy. I'm telling you right now, that's awesome. I love it. That's the finish.
You get a layup taken and an and one.
Hi there, I'm Jake Query.
And I'm Derek Schultz.
And we do Query and Schultz on ISC Sports Network. And Derek, unlike Ted Lasso, we have a third season.
That's right. Season number 3 right now, ISCSportsNetwork.com. You can see episodes on Comcast 81 as well, Mondays at 7:30. I'm talking about our show, Jake, this beloved show that people tune into every single week. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, so many ways to watch Query and Schultz every Monday, 7:30. Tune in and hang out with us.
And you don't have to be a goldfish. You'll remember everything we say.
Welcome back to Memorial Gymnasium. You're watching ISC Sports Network. The score of the half, Kokomo 20, Carmel 16. Thanks for bearing with us there at the end of the second quarter. J.D. Arlen alongside Dan Fife here at the studio in Dane, I'll tell you what, the Flory Bidunga has not been as much of a factor as many predicted him to be. He's right now sitting at 4 points, 9 rebounds. That's where he's been getting it done. and 4 blocks. How do you unlock a guy like Bidunga offensively in the second half?
Well, sometimes it's just going to be nights like this. We watch it with Trace Jackson-Davis all the time, and even maybe a Zach Edey over at Purdue. Sometimes they just have to be passers, and they have to impact the game in other ways. You know, they're superstars. Flory's a superstar. He's a marked man, okay? And Coach Peckinpah, he had a bunch of football players or a couple football players come in, and he's still trying to get his team meshed, his offense meshed. His defense is pretty good. He's trying to get his offense to mesh better, as is Coach Osborne. And so you're seeing 2 offenses be behind their defenses respectively. And I think right now I'll give both coaches credit because each of them have convinced their team not to break despite the other team doing something well or their own team not doing something so well. That's why we have a close game right now.
So going along with what you said, does that mean a lot of halftime adjustments need to be made or just kind of stick it out and see what happens? Because we saw a Kokomo team that's much more willing to shoot threes than any game they have in the past. Does Carmel switch that, bring a couple more guys up top, or do they stay down low and try to interrupt those cross-court passes like we saw them do that caused turnovers?
Well, the adjustment for Coach Peckinpah is they want to play on their terms, and it hasn't happened, but for maybe a minute or 2 minutes, which is to speed up the game. They need the crowd into it. They want to get Carmel on their heels, second-guessing themselves on every offensive possession. Conversely, I think if you're Coach Osborne right now, you have to find a way to continue to keep Sam Orm involved, either by running offense for him, which doesn't necessarily get him a shot, but it gets his keep a good shot because he could be a decoy and or a playmaker. He's that good. And I think, again, if you're Coach Osborne, keep the level of intensity of this game at a slow and steady pace, which Carmel is doing, and that's why they're in the game.
And just looking down the stat sheet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players from Carmel logging time. This is an incredibly deep squad. A lot of different lineups, a lot of different ways you can go with it. But talking about how Kokomo has spread the love, last night Reese Beard, career high 19 points, Xavion Bellamy, a career high 22 points. We've only seen 1 3 from Reese Beard, and Xavion Bellamy hasn't scored yet. So we're seeing a whole different cast of characters from Kokomo than is usual. Part of that unpredictability, I'm sure, that's hard to prepare for if you're Carmel.
Well, you know, when you look at, take number 35, Shane Spear, for example. This is only his second game back. He's probably their second best player. And as I talked to Coach Peckinpah this morning, his main concern is still they're ahead of the game defensively. Part of it's just because if anybody gets by their guards, their perimeter defenders, they run into Bidunga. But the other part is, again, the meshing of the offense. That takes time. And you're going to see different guys score big numbers aside from Bidunga for Kokomo. Maybe it's number 1 Bellamy one night. Maybe it's number 3 Bellamy the next night. Maybe it's Shane Spear. I think they're doing a really good job of playing together, taking care of the basketball. And this is going to be an exciting second half.
Definitely not the star power matchup that we anticipated heading into this one, as you see some of our first half highlights here. And I've been really impressed with Zion Bellamy. His 2 3-pointers as well as his other field goal. Both teams staying out of foul trouble relatively well in a game that was expected to be played down low, that kind of ground and pound offense. Like you mentioned earlier, Carmel learning a little bit from the football team. Both squads extremely physical, but staying out of foul trouble. And that gives the opportunity for guys like Bidunga to have a big second half without having to worry about being gentle for the rest of this matchup.
I think the game's going to be called differently in the second half. You can bet the referees are going back and talking about some issues that they're seeing. And I struggle watching a guy run down the court and essentially get blocked right around the free throw line so he can't get down to the post. Now, Bidunga's got to find a way to either go around him or make sure the refs are calling the foul. But either way, it's it's an issue tonight, and I think it's got to be called.
We will be right back with the latter 16 minutes of action in Memorial Gymnasium. You're watching ISC Sports Network. Kokomo up 4 on the Carmel Greyhounds at the half.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
IHSAA.
Tonight's game presented in part by Main Street Barbershop in Carmel. Main Street Barbershop is still your best place for a great haircut in Carmel. It's just no longer on Main Street. Stop in and see Matt in Merchants Plaza near 116th Street and Keystone in Carmel. As we are back to the action, and the Wildkats will start with the ball in a relatively low-scoring affair. Both squads playing very defensive games. Carmel usually scoring about 24 points by this point, stifled to just 16.
You know, coaching 101 is if you're worried about somebody double teaming your post player, you post them up in the middle so they can't double team. Well, what Carmel has done is put a defender behind Flory when he posts up in the middle, and then 2 defenders on each side, a defender on each side. So essentially it's a triple team before he even catches the ball.
Carmel slowing it down. Looks like they tried to fake the post there. Back in the outside, Jared Bonds has all the time in the world to shoot. You got to make those, Dane.
Kokomo's willing to risk it. And as you said, Bonds got to, they're good-looking shots. They're good decisions. Just got to knock them down.
Zion Bellamy clanks, and so it'll go back the other way. Bonds had the same look that he had just moments ago, but instead decides to pass off to Quota.
I think Bond just got the wind knocked out of him. Somebody just ran by him and accidentally hit him right in the gut. He's feeling it.
Kind of doubled over there on the right side of your screen. So the Greyhounds going a little more aggressive in the paint. Orm puts up the floater and good. And the Belmont commit with his 4th point of the outing.
And again, Coach Peckinpah, he was very specific. They did not want Orm getting a 3-point shot, not even a look. And he hasn't got one so far.
Here's Zion Bellamy. Back over to the other Bellamy. Patrick Hardiman from downtown. His second 3 of the game.
If you notice, the best shots, the best 3-point shots come from inside the arc. It's called an inside-out shot, and if they can give Hardiman that kind of look right on the money with the pass, he's going to knock it down.
Quota looking for any opportunity to break inside. And a whistle blown. So we'll go back the other way. The offensive foul, we'll see who they got. And according to the PA, I think it'll be the superstar, Sam Orm.
I'm not sure if that was a flop or not, but from my vantage point, it looked like Orm put his shoulder into the sternum of Hardiman, and knocked him into the screener. He's got to be a little bit more discreet to make sure he gets his man screened off on that flex cut.
Reese Beard back in the game. Xavion Bellamy for 3. And so that 3-point shot has been very kind to the Wildcats with a K in this second half.
That's not what Carmel needs, is the other Bellamy to get going. It could turn into the Bellamy show, JD.
Orm trying to do what he just did. Instead, sends it off to Quoto. Under the rim and dunk for Jared Bonds. And Carmel finally breaks the 20-point mark. Go ahead.
That's big for Bonds because he's been struggling. He got hurt again. He got hit right in the mouth.
By his own teammate, it looked like.
It's the second time. I think he got hit by his own teammate the first time.
Carmel playing extremely fast as Hardiman cashes in from deep.
Now we're moving. We're going to see what kind of coaches these two are now that their strategies are starting to be blown up. The adjustments have been made, and now it's time to readjust your defensive schemes for each coach.
A very quick third quarter of play. Patrick Hardiman with 11 points, by the way. That's the 15 jersey for the Wildcats.
Tough shot. That's a tough shot.
This one goes out, and so Kokomo will take over.
Griffin's shooting 77% from three, and they've got to find a way to get. You can tell when a shooter like that takes a kind of a bad shot like that, it means he's not getting good looks. That's a credit to Kokomo's defense and Coach Peckinpah's strategy.
Went off the back of the backboard, and so it will be out of bounds. Sam Orm will throw in. Surprising we haven't seen much of a full court press in some of these games. That can start as early as mid-first quarter, but here we are with 3 quarters of play.
Well, the game plan's simple. Is you want to trail their shooter. You want to run their shooters off. If you're Kokomo, they're running the Carmel shooters off the three-point line, and they're funneling them all into Flory Bidunga. And essentially what Carmel's getting is either mid-range shots or shots from non-shoot guys that don't shoot so well. And it's quite a perplexing puzzle that there's not a lot of answers in terms of how you solve the problem if you're Carmel. Coach Peckinpah, Coach John Peckinpah, nicknamed John Scooter Peckinpah back when he was an IPFW starting center.
You know anything about his play at IPFW there?
Well, you know, he was a coach on the floor back then, and I knew he would be a coach. And he comes from a great program at Muncie Central under Matt Fine, who was an outstanding basketball coach. Took them to 2 state championship games. They lost both of them against Lawrence North, Greg Oden, Mike Conley. You might remember those names. But I always felt like he'd be a really good basketball coach. He's coached in college. He coached at a really prestigious program, Noblesville, and now he's here at Kokomo. And I think the folks at Kokomo, I think they recognize that they've got a great coach, but he's also a great leader. He's a great leader for the young men in Kokomo. And I echo the same thing about Coach Ryan Osborne. I know both of these coaches, and there's a reason why Indiana basketball in Indiana, I always like to say that high school coaches in Indiana can coach circles around most college coaches. They're that good, and you're watching it tonight.
In 49 states, just basketball, especially for Patrick Hardiman. This is Indiana. His fourth 3-point shot, as now he's got 14 points of Kokomo's 32. So the Cats up by 12 after some great coaching insight from former IPFW coach Dane Fife. Thank you for that. And this one goes on the inside, stolen away. Here comes Bidunga.
Okay.
Can he hang on to it? Yeah! And he'll jam it down.
Woo-hoo! I thought he got away with a little and one mixtape action, Coach Peckinpah. But just a great job to maintain the ball and get the dunk. If you're Carmel, I thought maybe you should have found a way to not let him get to the rim like that. But
another look at this sequence. There's Hardiman, and then just moments later, Bidunga against a whole pack of Greyhounds gets it up. You're going to have to check those rims in Memorial Gymnasium tomorrow morning.
Well, they've been dunked on by some players in the past, Kokomo. Brandon Wood, he's got a lot of dunks in the history of Kokomo basketball, but I'm a little disappointed in the Carmel transition defense right there, and that's something that Coach Osborne stressed before the game. You can't let that happen if you're essentially when Bidunga dunked the ball, it looked like it was 1-on-4. And that's where somebody like Sam Orm has to back Coach Osborne out of the huddle and say, Coach, let me handle this one. That's where a guy like Sam Orm has to take control. He's the leader now. He's got to tell each player, especially the young guys, that shouldn't happen at Carmel. That's not what we do, and this is how we're going to handle it.
As we will see both teams try to answer for that, the recent hot streak for Kokomo. And just before we get underway with this next drive thanks to our friends at Coca-Cola of Kokomo, proudly serving Kokomo and the surrounding areas since 1907. Coca-Cola Kokomo keeps the Cats hydrated both on the court and in the classroom. Find out more at cckokomo.com. And so now we will see a throw in from Spencer White of the Greyhounds, who will try to answer to this extremely loud Memorial Gymnasium environment already playing a factor here deep in this third quarter as Kokomo's up 14. Alex Quoto nearly lost it. Good recovery. Here comes Jake Griffin. Back in the outside, a lot of passing. And Carmel trying to play their game and slow it down. Here's Orm, blocked from the inside. Cashing in from deep is Ryan Clevenger. 5 points on the night for him. 34-23. Cats still in front with 2 to go here in this third quarter.
Carmel started to speed up the pace on their offense a little bit on that last possession. Kokomo is making a tremendous effort trying to run their Carmel shooters off the three-point line. The one adjustment that Coach Osborne seems to have made is they're really speeding up their offensive cuts, trying to confuse the Kokomo defense. Bidunga got put on Kuto the last possession, and it gave Kuto a wide open three.
Shot goes up and no good. Spencer White takes it back, and Carmel's wasting no time. Almost leads to an offensive miscue, but they get a second chance as Hardiman had the chance to steal it. Spencer White, why not? 3 points for him. And that's the kind of heads-up play that you like to see from some of the older members of this roster.
Well, if you're willing to take a shot that probably isn't your strength and make it, that's a great shot. That's a great decision. But these are the things that make the Carmel Greyhounds who they are. They haven't been great by default. They're great because they have good players willing to take risks like that to win basketball games.
Bidunga lowers the shoulder, no whistle, as this one travels back to the outside. Hey, how about a third chance for it for the Wildcats? Finally, Carmel able to get the defensive board, and Bidunga almost interrupted it.
Thought that was a good no call by the referee on that charge. You got to limit the it wasn't a flop, but you've got to limit. If you're going to set that as, if that's going to be the standard, then you're going to be calling a lot of charges in the game.
Spencer White can't get it done. 24 seconds to go in this third quarter of play. Here's Xavion Bellamy over to brother Zion. 10 seconds to go. Kokomo holding for the last shot.
You got to be able to get him the ball there.
And whistles fly as Bidunga hits the deck.
Watch here. I think Beard's got to get him the ball right there. The play shouldn't come from one. The play was designed for number 2 Beard to get Bidunga the ball, and it almost cost him a turnover. Beard's got to have the confidence to get that ball inside Bidunga right there from the wing.
I'm not sure who they got for the whistle. I think it was Spencer White. In that case, it would be his first, team second of the half. 1 second to go. Bidunga and nothing. And so he'll put up the courtesy shot as we head to the fourth quarter of play. We've got 8 minutes of fresh basketball. The Wildcats up by a lot, 34-26. Take a quick timeout on ISC Sports Network. We'll be right back.
That's funny.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
Tonight's game brought to you and Anthony Bennett. Did you know that ADP pays 1 in 6 Americans? And did you know that if you mention ISC, you can get the full range of services free for 3 months? That's right, ISC and ADP have partnered to help your small business, and it's free for 3. Call Anthony Bennett for more wordplay at 317-427-8249 or email Anthony Bennett at adp.com and mention ISC. Tonight's game also brought to you in part by Indy Card Exchange. The Indy Card Exchange is Indiana's home for vintage and modern sports cars. It's also the home of a wonderful place to shop for last-minute gifts for the sports fan in your life. And it's the place to pick up some extra Christmas cash by selling your collection in time for the holidays. Stop by and see Andy on 96th Street, just west of I-69, or visit online at IndyCardExchange.com. J.D. Arlen, Dave Fife here in the broadcast booth, as an 8-point deficit is what Carmel will have to overcome. Dave said it best in the break. 8 points doesn't seem like a lot on paper, but it certainly meant a lot in this game.
Well, Coach Osborne has got to find a way to get his players good looks. It's one thing they've struggled with. And I think a big part of it is the Kokomo defense, but the other part is he's got a bunch of pieces that he's trying to put together by either being somebody new, a new starter, somebody getting minutes for the first time. He's got a very young point guard in Kuto. He's got Orm looking to take over as the leader and the leading scorer of his program now. It's going to take some time, but in the end, come March, I think Coach Ryan Osborne is going to have the Greyhounds right where they need to be.
Xavion Bellamy goes to Spencer White instead. Carmel will have to take over an incredibly fast-paced game.
Each team got a possession, and it took 1 minute total. If that's the case, Kokomo's winning this basketball game.
Carmel's got to find a way to put up points and fast. There's an Orm three, and that's exactly why head coach Peckinpah told you before the game you don't want that kid shooting from beyond the arc.
And as we come down the floor, you're going to see Coach Peckinpah. He's probably not screaming at Hardiman right now, but he'll have a perturbed look.
The stare.
But those are the things that Orm has to do if Carmel's going to get back to where they're used to being in March. It's going to be an important aspect of Carmel basketball this year.
And here's a look at that three, and then just moments later the foul as Bidunga threw it over to Hardman. They got Spencer White for it. It'll be his second foul, third on Carmel of the half. And Kokomo still foul-free this half, by the way, with only 6:21 to go in the game.
That's an impressive stat right there. If you're Hardiman, these free throws are important. Made a mistake down at the other end, even giving Orm room for that three. These will be important.
And that one doesn't go for Patrick Hardiman.
You don't want a guy like Orm thinking he's about to get going, because a shooter like that, once you get going, they're hard to stop.
Second one falls to Patrick Hardiman, who now has 12 points with just over 6 minutes to go. Two very good teams last year. Carmel with an 18-6 overall record and a regional exit to Westfield, who was later defeated by Kokomo in the tournament as Spencer White puts up the three and no good. Meanwhile, Kokomo 19-8, got all the way to semi-state. They lost to Chesterton, who later lost in the state finals to Cathedral. So both teams that, like you mentioned earlier, are going to be playing in March.
Right now, if you're Kokomo, you don't need to take a tough shot. You don't need to make a questionable pass. Just be patient and get a great shot by one of your players you trust to shoot the shot.
No whistles as many players hit the deck. Bidunga got it up, and then Orm redirected it. And Sam Orm trying to set the screen there. The double team coming too little too late for Kokomo. I believe he stepped out. Oh no, it'll be a timeout. Timeout for the Greyhounds. So in this timeout, we'd like to thank our friends at Coca-Cola of Kokomo, proudly serving Kokomo and the surrounding areas since 1907. Coca-Cola of Kokomo keeps the Cats hydrated, both on the court and in the classroom. Find out more at cckokomo.com. And you're going to want an ice-cold Coca-Cola, maybe some popcorn for the final 5 minutes and 22 seconds of this game. Dave, we've seen a really fast-paced offense on both sides, and both offenses taking a lot of time eating clock. Do you think that slows down now that both offenses have figured each other out?
Well, both teams have done an exceptional job executing their game plans, and it really is an offensive struggle. And as you look at Coach Osborne, they're not out of the game, clearly. They're not out of the game. I think what Coach Osborne wants to see is ball movement and people movement at a pace that Kokomo isn't used to. But he also wants to see the right guys taking shots. Now, it's delicate because you don't want to stymie someone who you know can hit a three, but on the flip side, you also want a guy like Sam Orm to step up and say, guys, give me the dang ball. Give me the dang ball and get me a shot. It's going in.
Now on the flip side of that, in every single game this year, Flory Bidunga has been the leading scorer, averaging 22 points a game. Tonight, it's for sure Patrick Hardiman, who, by my count, has 15, just like his jersey says. So Patrick Hardiman stepping up big time. Do you keep using him?
Well, I keep using him on defense, and I tell him just make sure you're taking good shots and rebounding on offense.
And we'll see what Coach Osborne said. Spencer White thought about it. Jake Griffin down low. Looking for Orm, who just can't escape Patrick Hardiman, who's been just as good on defense as he's been on offense. They'll try to kick it out for the open three to Quoto. Can't get it down, and Bidunga latches onto it to pick up the rebound, and hey, get Jake Griffin with the foul too, his third.
That was a good shot. It was a really nice job by Carmel to get a good shot for Quoto. The problem is he hasn't taken many. And when you haven't taken many and your first real good look from deep is in the fourth quarter, you're bound to not make it.
Carmel brings 3 defenders out for pressure. And that's why, because they'll steal it away, and here comes Orm, and he will draw the foul on Shane Spear. Again, just the first foul of the half for Kokomo so late into this game. For the first on Spear as well. Here's another look. And had Spear not committed that foul, that would have been an easy layup for Orm, who's been in this position before.
I thought Spear might have had him for a charge if he didn't reach down on the ball. Again, Spear's second game back. He's a really good player for Kokomo. And you got both teams right now still trying to figure it out. And they're both going to be really good programs. They both are really good programs. As I said, they're going to be really good teams come March, but they just have to be patient with each other and stay healthy.
Orm makes them both, and just like that, it's a 2-possession ball game.
You got Carmel throwing on a little press.
And this is the classic Greyhounds that we're used to seeing, with that full court press in effect for nearly all of the game. Instead, waiting until this fourth quarter when it's a little more contested, saving some of that energy for the later portions of this game. 4:15 to go as Spear slows it down. And Kokomo's just eating clock right now, not trying to do too much aggressively. They'll kick it out, and a travel is called on Patrick Hardiman.
You know, as much as that was a bad play by Hardiman, the cross-court, half-court pass that Bellamy threw him, I just don't think it's necessary. You throw it through the teeth of the defense, but what do you get out of it? You put a guy in position where Hardiman needs to drive, and that's not his strength. And so if I'm Bellamy right there, just keep the ball. You don't need to score. You're up 4. You don't need to force. You don't need to rush. Just be patient. Make the defense make a mistake. That's what Carmel's going to do right here on this possession. They're going to be patient, and they're going to work for a great shot.
Spencer White. And nice second chance bucket from Jake Griffin. The heads-up play, and that could have been all Kokomo had the defender not been turned around. Jake Griffin, opportunistic.
Well, Bidunga did the job. He blocked the shot. And Bellamy just dropped it. He had it in his hands and just dropped it, just lost concentration.
Kokomo's showing signs of fatigue late, and that'll be on if they got not 100% sure who they got for that one. Regardless, it'll be the 5th team foul for the Greyhounds this second half.
We got something on the shot where somebody grabbed somebody on a box out.
If it was Jake Griffin, it would be his 4th. I'm not sure it was, though. Here's Bidunga. Bellamy to Bellamy. Bidunga thought about the screen, instead gets ready for the rebound. Grabs on and off glass and good. For Bidunga, his 6th point late in this game.
Just a simple split of the ball screen, get a good shot on the rim that if you're gonna miss, give your teammates a chance to rebound. You don't want it to hit the rim and drop. You don't want to shoot it short. You want to get it up on the rim to where your teammate has a chance to rebound. Terrific job by Bellamy to get it up on the rim for Bidunga to put it back.
Just 2 minutes to go, just a little over 2 minutes to go in this game. I'd like to thank Indy Card Exchange. Indy Card Exchange is Indiana's home for vintage and modern sports cards. It's also the home of a wonderful place to shop for the last-minute gifts for the sports fan in your life. It's also the place to pick up some extra Christmas cash by selling your collection in time for the holidays. Stop in and see Andy on 96th Street, just west of I-69, or visit online at indycardexchange.com. JD Arland, Dane Fife here at ISC Sports Network, bringing you number 10 Carmel and number 11 Kokomo. The Wildkats up 37-33 with just over 2.5 to go. And some unexpected results as Patrick Hardiman has really stepped up for the Wildcats, and Flory Bidunga hasn't been able to make the impact that we've seen him make all season long.
Well, he's impacted it. He just hasn't impacted it in the point category. But you can bet that him. Oh, you take this, JD.
Yeah,
take this, baby.
Yeah, he made me eat my words right there as Flory Bidunga puts up the monster dunk for his 8th point. And wow, look at that. He found his groove right as we mentioned it. Flory Bidunga, that's what he does best, and that's why he is one of the most highly recruited players in the country. 14 scholarship offers. That includes schools from the Big 12, the Pac-12, the SEC, the ACC, the Big East, and the Missouri Valley Conference. Bidunga, check that out and check that rim out after the game.
How about the wherewithal Hardiman to throw that easy lob?
Bidunga has just jump-started this Kokomo team, who's trying to put the exclamation point on an otherwise fantastic night. And like you said, yeah, he is making an impact down low. Although it's not showing up on the scoreboard, he's still affecting the game, and he's a big reason why these Greyhounds, who usually score about 50 a game, have been stifled to 33. Driving inside is Ryan Clevenger, who we haven't seen much of this second half. Quoto puts up the 2 points and good.
And those are the kind of shots that Coach Peckinpah and the Wildcats are willing to give up. That challenged mid-range shot. They just don't want to give up threes, especially late in this basketball game.
Shane Spear off to Patrick Hardiman.
The three-point shot and the turnover, that's going to be the decision maker in this game. Who's going to take care of the ball? Who's going to do the job and not giving up the three-point shot?
Well, you know what they say, ball security is job security, as Clevenger capitalizes there on the unprotected look from Shane Spear.
Something important to keep an eye on is Carmel just has one timeout left. And if it's going to be a tight game, Coach Osborne's going to want to have that clipboard available to draw something up, because shots aren't coming easy for either team tonight.
Foul is on Alex Quoto, his first, team 6th of the half with 1:11 to go. So that will send Bidunga to the line. Flory Bidunga usually just over 50% from the foul line, 54.1%. Coach, in your experience, how important is it to have a big man that can get it done on the charity stripe?
Well, you don't want to get into a hack-a-shack situation. And I think that's one thing that a last resort for Carmel and teams that are in the game with Kokomo down the stretch. They have that trump card in their pocket to where you can go to the Hack-a-Shack. If Bidunga can get to 60, 65, show some growth, I think it'll make a major impact on his ability to be in games at the end, because you don't want to be out of the game in the end if you're Bidunga.
I love the euchre reference with the trump card. This is the most Indiana broadcast of all time. As this will go back, and I believe Kokomo will be shooting from the line. 39-35 with just a minute to go here at Memorial Gymnasium on ISC Sports Network. Shane Spear is up to bat.
Now, they play euchre at Purdue?
You know, I never learned until about a year ago, and if you asked me to explain it, I still don't think I could.
No, it's a difficult game to explain.
Our director, Sean, says he could teach anybody in 2 minutes, so maybe that's our halftime show next time.
Up to bat, my 13-year-old daughter. Good luck.
39-35, 50 seconds to go. Here's Orm, a little higher than he'd like to be. Puts it up and draws. He's got the travel. And I thought they were going to call the foul on Patrick Hardiman.
If you watch Hardiman, he does a good job of keeping his body square until the very end between Orm and the basket. I think that's why the referee decided to call it a travel instead of a foul. Their feet got tangled up, but I think he got the travel before the tangle.
Another foul on the Carmel Greyhounds. It'll be their 7th. Didn't catch the number of who committed, but it was an offensive. And so at the line will be Xavion Bellamy. No good. Got to make those, especially late in the game when the pressure's high. Here's Quoto. Inside blocked. Flory Bidunga giving his team a second chance. 30 seconds on the clock as both teams hit the deck, and it's going to be a jump ball. So this one's going back to Kokomo. Bidunga chopping it up with the official there. Take another look. A great block, and then just the scrum on the floor.
You see, Griffin just last night probably took the ball to the rim against North Central and probably made the layup. And
not tonight.
You can't prepare for your team for something like the way Bidunga can get up and challenge a shot. And I think it's not just his athleticism. It's his ability to react at the right time. Timing. Now, Jaron Jackson had that. Coach Jaron at Michigan State. Started for the Memphis Grizzlies now. You know, his mom told me way back in 7th grade when he's playing at Park Tudor, my son has the ability to block shots. I don't know what else he can do, but I know he can block shots. And still today, I think he's probably the first or second leading shot blocker in the league, game for game. Now, granted, he was injured, but I think by the numbers, average per game, he's right up there.
3 doesn't go for the Greyhounds as this game is losing time. Bidunga, fancy footwork. Dishes it off to Bellamy, puts it up, and Bidunga finishes. 8.9 left to go. Bidunga gets it done, weaving through traffic, finding a way to get it done, and I believe that'll stop the clock for a moment as he gets some words of wisdom from John Peckinpah.
I'd like to know what happened there. I know they called a foul, JD. I'm just not sure where. But they've got to do something with the clock right now, because if they call the foul and it's a 2-point, if it's 2 shots, they've got to do something with the clock.
Well, here's another look at it. There's that matchup that we predicted.
Okay, they called the foul right there. The question is how much time you have.
So no shot then.
Nope, and nobody, I don't think the clock operator recognized the whistle either. They might have to go to maybe our telecast here to see if we can get that fixed.
I don't think there's instant replay at Memorial Gymnasium quite yet.
Well, we might have to shoot him a text.
8.9 seconds to go, and not that streaks matter, but Bidunga just needs 2 more points for his 16th consecutive double-double.
I'm going to give it 11 seconds just because I'm having a good time. I don't want the game to end so soon.
It's been a quick one. They'll say 14. I feel like we're at the end of a World Cup match and they're adding extra time for penalties and injuries.
We'll go with 14. I think Coach Osborne will be happy with that.
And just like you said, Coach, the clipboard out and ready. 1 timeout for Carmel. Meanwhile, still 4 timeouts for the Wildcats. And the double bonus is active to light up the Bees. Xavion Bellamy can't get that one done. So 5 points separating these two teams. 14 seconds. This will be an exciting finish.
It's been a tough game for Xavion, number 3, Bellamy. He was so good yesterday, hard to bounce back and repeat it. I'll give him credit, and I'll give Coach Peckinpah credit. He stuck with him throughout the game.
Orm giving it off to White. Got the 3. They'll take a look at the clock again, I believe, as Carmel uses its final timeout. So that's exactly what Coach Osborne probably drew up for that one. Take another look. Just ice in his veins. Pulls up, shoots it, keeps Carmel in this one. An incredibly close contest here at Memorial Gymnasium, 41-37. So, Dane, you've been in this situation before. You're down 4, not a lot of time on the clock. What can you even draw up when Kokomo has possession after that bucket?
Well, you want to try to stop the clock as soon as possible, either by foul or advance it to half court. But you've got to find a way to keep that clock from moving. And I'd say probably if you got 4.7, you want to give yourself 2 seconds. I don't see it as very possible, but these are the things, if you're Kokomo, if you want to take the game, take your team to the next step.
That's what you got to do as this one's out of bounds. It'll be Carmel ball. So how about that? And they will have 2 seconds. Dane Fife, the Oracle.
Well, you got to get a 3 here. You got to hope for something.
Quota will inbound to White. No good. They got the putback after the fact, and so that will do it. 41-37. The Wildcats extend their unbeaten at home streak, and the Carmel Greyhounds fall on the road to fall to 5-3. And so coming up right after the break, we will have our post-game reactions. Tonight's game brought to you by Coca-Cola of Kokomo, proudly serving Kokomo and the surrounding areas since 1907. Coca-Cola Kokomo keeps the Cats hydrated both on the court and in the classroom. Find out more at cckokomo.com and by Indy Card Exchange, Indiana's home for vintage and modern sports cars. We will be right back after the break with some post-game thoughts. Don't go anywhere. You're watching ISC Sports Network.
This is your IHSAA. This is your state. This is your high school. This is your athletic association.
Fans, I'm IHSAA Commissioner Paul Knighty, and we're here to make sure that all of this remains yours.
This is your state. This is your community. This is your IHSAA.
Hardiman.
We are back at Memorial Gymnasium after the fact, 41-39 the final. The Kokomo Wildcats get it done at home. J.D. Arlen, Dane Fife here in the booth. And Dane, it's now your responsibility to pick a player of the game. And for once, it might not be the 40 jersey from Kokomo.
Why don't we go with Patrick Hardiman, the 6'5" senior. We mentioned he hit a bunch of big shots for Kokomo, but I think more importantly, the job he did on Sam Orm is probably what won the game for Kokomo. And I think that this young man, he's a good player. I really liked his effort, and I liked his toughness. I like his spirit. And he doesn't get down on himself, which you can appreciate.
There you heard it, 15 points. That categorizes Patrick Hardiman as our ISC Sports Network player of the game. If you want to catch the Wildcats on ISC, you'll just have to wait. couple of weeks for the Phil Cox Memorial Tournament. That also features Warren Central, Guerin, Columbia City, Brownsburg, Center Grove, South Bend Riley, and of course Kokomo's opponent, Fort Wayne Lures. That'll be right here on ISC Sports Network. You can find that on our app, website, and social media. Alongside Dane Fife in the studio with Sean Walker, Sam Waugh, and Elijah Mash on camera. I'm JD Arlen saying so long from Memorial Gymnasium, and thanks for tuning in to ISC Sports Network. 41.
Ball here. Harris scores. With 19 seconds left.
Fake players, big boy. I'm telling you right now, that's awesome. I love it.
You get a layup taken and an and one.